this was flowing, but now I can see it's
Yeah,
flowing.
you're covered.
Well, what's weird about
This
this
is
is,
concept.
yeah, that's the,
This,
or
this,
that's concrete.
this doesn't do this. This is a boundary. Access.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Crazy, it doesn't come this way?
I pledge allegiance to the flag. Thank you and good afternoon. Nice turnout tonight. First item on the agenda is the approval of today's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the November 16th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. So the first item for new business tonight is application P 346. This is a concept plan submission for the Howard Property Subdivision submitted by the applicant Plitco LLC on behalf or the property owners Paul G. Brown, trustee. The plan proposes the subdivision of 3 parcel lots into 16 lots. The property is approximately 8.2 acres. It's zoned R1, single-family residential, and it's located at 107 Central, as well as 97 Woodland Avenue and 99 Woodland Avenue. So with that, Jim, I guess I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Kent. We reviewed the plan, the concept plan, and based on that review, we have the following comments. So regarding floodplain, wetlands, and water resource protection areas, portions of the site lie within a special flood hazard area, Zone AE, elevation 7, with floodway. The project will need to be designed in accordance with the applicable requirements in Chapter 116, Article 1 of the Town Code. A wetlands investigation will be required in accordance with the requirements in Chapter 116, Article 2 of the Town Code. Should it be determined that no wetlands exist on site, a report documenting the investigation and absence of any wetlands, as well as a certification note on the final plan, are still required in order to provide compliance with Section 116.13. It appears that soils deemed to have excellent potential for groundwater recharge exist within the vicinity of the subject parcels. Verify the boundary of these soils as determined by the Delaware Geologic Survey relative to the boundary of the site. If these soils exist on site, the project will need to be designed in accordance with the applicable requirements in Chapter 116, Article 3 of the Town Code. Regarding drainage in general, the site contains a portion of Prong 2 of the Banks-Bennett tax ditch, as well as the associated 30-foot right-of-way that goes along with the tax ditch. Development within and/or reconfiguration of the right-of-way will require DENREC approval prior to final plan approval. The tax ditch, including the length of the ditch beyond the tax ditch limits, may not be on lots. Open space will be required to be provided to encompass the entirety of the ditch. The open space should be sized to include the ditch to the top of bank, plus an additional 10 feet or 20 feet total, whichever is greater. Tax ditch right-of-way beyond this width may overlap lot area. Regarding open space, this project will require the dedication of open space beyond that required to protect the significant drainage features in accordance with the requirements of Section 140.71 of the Town Code. This project will require the establishment of a homeowners association in accordance with the requirements of Section 140.72 of the Town Code. Regarding the specific lot standards, corner lots require front yard setbacks along all rights of way, and Lot 7 as it is currently designed does not provide appropriate orientation for a satisfactory building site as deemed by the code. Regarding streets and sidewalks, the project will require 50-foot wide rights of way and 30-foot wide streets in accordance with the requirements of Section 187.2 of the Town Code. The rights of way and streets will be dedicated to the town for public use. Sidewalks will be required along both sides of the entire length of all streets. The public rights of way created within the subject parcel to serve the proposed development may not contain any portion of the tax ditch right of way. The public rights of way created within the subject parcel to serve the proposed development shall not abut any adjoining parcel unless permission is obtained from the owner of any affected parcels, accepting the increase in setback requirements associated with the newly created road frontage. and it will need to be verified that the site distance exists to the south along Woodland Avenue for the proposed location of the entrance in accordance with DelDOT requirements. Okay, and also, this is not included in our comments, it's something that I missed, and Ken would like me to add it at this point, but we will require right-of-way dedication along the Woodland Avenue frontage to go along with the town plans moving forward for Woodland Avenue. That dimension is yet to be determined. Regarding utilities, no utility information was provided on the plan, so I cannot offer any comments at this time regarding connections to public water or sewer. And then, excuse me, and then regarding outside agency approval from all of the applicable outside agencies will be required prior to plan approval. In our opinion, upon consideration of these comments and the direction provided by the Planning and Zoning Commission, we believe that the project should be allowed to proceed with a preliminary plan submission in accordance with the requirements of the town code.
All right, thank you. Any questions from any of the board members?
More a comment. I've seen a few concept plans since I've been hanging around in this town, but this one seems to be missing a lot of key points. To the point where, you know, do they even know we have a town code? So that's why, and again, this is a concept plan. There's just discussion, there's no voting or anything. They're gonna go ahead anyway, but I really think a lot more attention to detail would be needed here, so.
Okay. You have anything, Phil? Okay. All right. Ken, you have anything to add?
No.
All right. So let me, I guess, open it up to the audience.
What do we want to give the applicant the opportunity?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yes. So is the applicant here tonight?
Yes.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Ray Blakeney. I'm with Plitko LLC. We prepared the plan. We're at 53 Atlantic Avenue. We're in receipt of the comments from Mr. Lober with the additional comment mentioned in the thing. Don't really have any questions. I understand the comments that are given, and we will do our best to comply with the town code. Willing to answer any questions you may have.
Just one comment on that. It's not a matter of doing your best to comply.
Well, I
You will
understand that. Yes,
comply.
I understand. Yeah,
Okay.
I understand. And your comment, given the detail of the plan, is taken as well. Again, it's just a concept plan, so we're coming, again, forward for comments from the town, initial comments. Certainly, when I come back with our preliminary plan, we'll have everything required, as well as addressing the comments from Mr. Lober.
Thank you.
All right,
Sure.
thank you.
Any other questions?
No? Thank you. All right, so with that, we will open it up to any comments from those in attendance. If you come forward, please state your name and address. And limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Mine will only be a minute. Yes, my name is McGee Spencer. I live at 2 Dove Court in Ocean View, right up against the property. And we knew this was going to be inevitable, but at this point, it's probably a little too early. Would you know a price point for the proposed houses?
We would not at this
That would
point.
be possibly a question for the developer's representative.
We don't have any idea at this point either.
Okay, okay, so then my second question doesn't matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Dubisky, 4 Martin Drive, so I'm right up against the line too. I was really interested in seeing this schematic. I was also wondering, are they townhomes or single-family homes?
Single family.
Single family, and there's 16, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
And when will they break ground?
Well, that would depend on the approval process.
Okay, so we don't know that yet.
We're still very early.
Gotcha. Do you know how long the whole project will take?
Before we break ground, or?
After you break ground?
I don't.
To build the whole thing
I don't at this point.
Okay.
I would imagine they could be constructed probably within a year or two.
within a year or two?
Mr. Blakey,
Okay.
when you speak, will you come up to the
Of course,
podium
yes.
and just for the record, you'll identify that you're speaking, so we are creating a public record on
Sure.
this.
Just questions.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Idea.
Just a side note, one of my neighbors is wondering about, there's a lot of wildlife there. How will you guys deal with that? I know there's a family of foxes and deer and this and that. Do you just break ground and they leave, or do you handle that in some way?
We don't have any specific plans at this point for handling the wildlife. We will have open space areas, including the stormwater management ponds and the buffer along the tax ditch that will be open space. So there will be corridors for them to move through the land.
Okay, gotcha.
Just as a comment on that, I mean, it's a construction project.
Yeah.
And like all construction projects, it's gonna disturb whatever wildlife is there.
Right.
That's inevitable.
Yes.
And there's, unless it's an endangered species, there's no rules or guidelines that I know of that will prevent that.
So it just happens and
If it happens, it
it
happens.
happens? Okay, I just want to take a look at it.
It's a quick process to take up to 2 years.
May I?
Interject.
While he's looking at that?
Please.
My name is Mike Stavish. I'm at Woodland Avenue, directly across from the entrance to this. And I'm just wondering if, I understand this is a concept, if there was any way they would put another entrance off of Central. That entrance is directly in front of my house.
The entrance on Central Avenue is existing. There's a driveway there.
There is a road there, I
And we're
understand
actually
that. You're
preserving-
gonna use that road?
No, we're not using it for the entrance to the subdivision.
Well, that was my question.
We're preserving it, there's an existing driveway there that serves the two houses there.
Right.
And we're preserving that for those two houses.
And there will not be an entrance then?
There
The
will not.
answer, short answer is there will not be.
Beyond what's already there, correct.
Well, there is no entrance there. And are you doing anything with the width of Woodland there? That's you got 16 houses back there. It's a lot of cars coming off that turn, coming from Central, right in. It may make my driveway a little more visible, but are you planning to widen Woodland, put a right-hand turn there?
We are going to dedicate right away as required by the town for Mr. Semino's comment. Anything beyond that is gonna be up to DelDOT and our coordination with them as we move forward with the project. At this point, we haven't really determined. I would imagine for 16 single-family homes, there probably won't be a requirement from DelDOT, but at this point, I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
So I want to interject here, okay? Number one, 16 townhomes right now is just speculation.
16 homes.
16
Single.
homes right now is just strictly
Right, it's a
speculation.
concept.
It's a concept. Number two, I do not believe that there will be any traffic impact study that will warrant a widening
Okay.
for homes up to 16 or anywhere less than 16.
Mhm.
The additional right-of-way that we are requiring them to dedicate is for the town's use for future projects. That is right now undetermined for
Okay.
the purposes of this meeting.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, that's good.
All right, thank you.
Can I take a picture of this?
If you have a phone, you can, I don't
Sure.
know. I
Why
don't
don't
see
you
any
wait?
problem.
It's on the website. I'm trying to get hold of this meeting.
Go ahead,
Jim
sir.
Barnes, 9 Briarcliff, thanks for all what you guys do. So, I'm with McGee. We're glad we had a 20-year run, we knew this was inevitable, so we get it. I'm this one right here. So my concern of this house is the road that comes down. Would there be able to be any kind of barrier or trees? Because the concern I would have is just lights that would come down that road that would go right into my house.
At this point, it's early to say. Again, we don't even know if that's gonna be the final design. We're gonna need to leave a little more buffer on that tax ditch than we're currently showing on the plans. Typically, that buffer needs to be unimpeded for maintenance on the tax ditch, so we couldn't really have any landscaping, significant landscaping within that buffer. something I'll note down, and we'll keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you. And then I just heard, just to clarify, lot 7, which is this one here?
Correct.
Is that not buildable then?
We need to look at it a little more closely. We know it's a tough lot. It may not survive.
Okay.
In our opinion, it is not. It's irregularly shaped.
Right, it doesn't meet
Doesn't meet
the limits within the code of being buildable, which is somewhat subjective.
Well, that would be a bonus. I applaud that if that works out that way. My last question is, with that tax ditch, when we were there really weren't any trees and they've grown up over time. If that is to happen, I'm not saying we are gonna do it, but do I have the option before it happens to cut those trees that have grown down and fall them on that property, or get rid of them, or when you guys develop it, it's just get rid of those trees? Is that a possibility?
You're asking if you could drop
Yeah,
trees
so I
on your
have-
property onto our property?
Yeah,
Onto
so
the-
I-
onto the adjacent property?
Correct, so I have some trees along here on this side of the tax ditch, but we own to the other side of the tax ditch, as you know, not to completely the other side. So it's easy if we could, and I'm not saying we're gonna do this, but if we did, to drop those trees on this side before you did the development. Is that even a possibility?
I have a comment there. I don't think you can own property on the tax ditch, is that correct?
The tax ditch is a right-of-way across his property. So it's
Okay, all
essentially an
right.
easement across his property.
But that in itself would have restrictions then,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, I apologize, but that's not a question to be directed to Mr. Blakeney. You would need to communicate with the tax ditch right-of-way group.
Oh, so I was under the impression that because I owned that property, that is my responsibility there.
There are limits with what you're allowed to do within their easement. So you would need to communicate with them, and they may be perfectly happy with it, but as a private property owner with that easement on my lot, I wouldn't just do it without talking with them.
Oh yeah, that's why I figured this was a good opportunity, that I looked at that going, if that's gonna happen, this would be the time to do that.
Unfortunately, they're a separate body that's based in the state, and they're not represented here.
So are you also asking if you can access removal of the trees through their property? Is that what you're?
That's what I'm basically
Yeah,
saying.
I think that would be.
No, I'm not
something-
saying for them to do it, I'm saying I
No,
would take.
you would do it, but you want to, instead of trespassing on their property, you wanted to use their property to access and remove the trees. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct, I would never go on someone else's
Right.
property without their
Sure.
approval.
So I think what you would need to do is get in touch with the engineer, and he could put you in touch with the owner, and then you and the owner could reach some kind of agreement about that before the development, if that was something you were interested in.
Yeah, thank you.
But
Yeah.
you should get in touch with the tax ditch section of the state first.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect, thank you all.
My name's David Sykes. I'm in the Briarcliff community, 5 Dove Court. And maybe you can't answer this because it is a tax ditch question. The right-of-way is on your development side. It's overgrown, it's not being maintained. Is it safe to assume, though, that will get cleared out as part of the site preparation? And will that be your responsibility, or is that up to the tax ditch
I think
authority?
that's more up to the tax ditch.
Okay. Okay.
Just one general comment on tax ditches, other than being a pain in everybody's butt. The main rule is you can't throw anything in them. It's a ditch for drainage. And that's what they get really uptight about. Beyond that, it's kind of all over the place. But the one key thing is you must get permission from the tax ditch authority to do it.
Okay, I'm not questioning on my side, I'm just wondering if they'll be clearing out on their side as part of site preparation. And one other question, are you going to be the builder, or is there another builder going to be
No, we're
involved?
the engineer that's preparing the plans and gaining the approvals for the project. The owner will then hire a builder,
Okay.
or sell it to a developer who will then hire a builder.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Bob Wolf. We live at 95 Woodland. Looking at the preliminary plan, neither our house or our neighbors are represented on the plan at all as the property's being improved. And the entrance, there's an existing apron from the road, and it looks like you intend to use that. That's only about 10 feet from our property line. Did I understand you to say that you're gonna recommend a 50-foot buffer from?
I apologize, I haven't been able to follow exactly where your property is located. Could you explain
Uh,
that to me
nine-
again?
We're to the left of the entrance,
Yeah.
To the left of the
95.
entrance.
if you were facing it.
So you're, Howard,
95.
Well, yeah, it's not, that's why I said these are old these are old, this is an old.
got
Yeah,
it,
it's not
Lot.
reflected, they don't have our property on there.
got it, but the first lot north of the entrance.
Yes.
So, got it. The right-of-way that comes in off of Woodland Avenue will need to be 50 feet wide to provide for the road that's gonna be built to come in. But that 50 feet cannot abut your property, because there are new setbacks that would come along with the road frontage for you.
So if it uses the existing apron as part of that, it could be as close as 10 feet.
That
To our
existing
property.
apron may not even be used.
Okay.
Right.
That's where it's shown now.
Yes. Essentially, they're showing the first 50 feet from your property line, then to the south to provide the right-of-way. And what we're telling them is that it's not allowed to be that close. There has to be a strip of open space that exists between whatever right-of-way they're proposing and your lot.
Okay.
There are precedent has been set where that's as little as 5 feet. But at least what it does is it creates a break between the right-of-way for the road and your property, so that your setback doesn't become a front yard setback.
Yeah,
It
right.
remains a side yard setback.
Okay. And then I guess our second question, at what point would we request that some kind of landscape buffer be installed between the road and our property?
I think it's good that you're here tonight and you're putting that on the record. If this comes back for preliminary, you should definitely continue
Yeah,
to.
the consideration isn't just, Elaine Wolf from his wife, isn't just the entrance that I'm concerned about, but two of the homes on 97 and 99 face us. So,
Oh,
the
right.
last thing I would want is headlights into my house all the time.
Got it, sure.
You know, so I do recommend, we're talking trees or something bigger than little bushes that's gonna block a lot of that, traffic as well as lighting that's gonna go in and out of there. And, the
This is
other.
privacy.
Screen, sure.
And the other question that I have is, the stormwaters, are they dry or wet, the ponds?
At this point, we don't know. We haven't progressed that far.
Because one of them is directly behind us. So, that's a concern, you can note that in your stuff too, or,
That may change also.
okay, okay. All right, thank you very much.
Your name and,
Yeah, Chris Basin, 15.
stand to
Wait,
the
just because we're
microphone.
recording it.
Chris Basin, 15 Mitchell Avenue. I have some comments I'd like to enter into the record.
All right.
Who could I provide them to?
The attorney.
Mhm.
And are you going to present these comments
Yes,
as
I
well?
am. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the record, I'm providing these to the town clerk, about comments from Chris Basin to be entered into the record.
Yeah, thanks a lot. My comments are two parts. One is on transportation safety, and I guess I'd begin by saying I live on Mitchell, and on Woodland there's an increasing amount of traffic, particularly in the summer, and when you go around those bends, you get into a safety issue, particularly for bicyclists. In the summer, there's a lot of bicyclists there. I bicycle it in the summer. I bicycle it in the winter too. So I see, and basically what happens when you're going around those bends, it's a narrow road and people pass. And sometimes they'll pass when they're speeding, and sometimes they don't even see what is in the oncoming lane of traffic. And so the proposed entrance to the development is right on one of those bends, and I think it's going to exacerbate that safety problem. And I know that it's tough, but where else are you gonna do the ingress and egress for the development? So I understand that it needs to be there. And what I'd like to suggest is that a solution to that be developed before plan approval. And I don't know what the solution is. I know there's a lot of cumulative traffic impacts, not necessarily from these potential 16 properties, but just from all the growth that's coming in. So one idea that I had thought of is if you got enough right of way, you could do kind of like a multimodal transportation lane where you got the sidewalk plus you got a separated lane for cyclists as well. That could eliminate that. So if that is something the town could consider, perhaps there's a way for this developer to contribute to that, and maybe the developer and that new big development coming in, they could do the same. And even the county could kick in, because it's a lot of that county traffic that's coming on our local roads. So that's the transportation comments. And my second set of comments has to do with drainage and flooding. And this proposal is located in an area of the town that has some significant drainage and flooding issues. And I'm located in the little drainage area that this is located in too. And what I've seen over time is we're getting more extreme rainfall events. So we're getting more precipitation over a shorter amount of time, and we just had 2 of them within the past couple of months. One of them was very significant. So we're going to see more of that. I want to note that the development is located within a floodplain. About 2/3 of the development is within flood zones, right? Some of it's within a 100-year, some of it's within a 500-year flood zone. So that's a particular concern for me, because how that stormwater is managed is going to affect my property on how it floods or not. So I guess let me get to some recommendations on that. I do want to say that, just to point out on these dishes here, this is basically where my property is, and we drain down this way. The dish flows down here, kind of bends around. Over time, this ditch here has been receiving more stormwater input. Like when the Hope Center got developed up here, they routed the stormwater into this right here, this very small ditch. So my concern is that the drainage problems that we got now on Mitchell, like we got standing water in neighbors' backyards when it's raining now. And my understanding is that some of that is because of the previous development. When Briarcliff got developed, the drainage wasn't managed correctly. So my street floods, and now on Woodland, even though we had that drainage project a few years back to solve the drainage, it did good for a while, but now it's flooding again. It's flooding bad. And so this is going to affect that one way or the other. So long story short, let me get into my recommendations here. What I'd like the town to consider doing, and maybe the applicant is involved in this, is work with the Sussex Conservation District to understand what's going on in this area and do a study to determine how this property can be developed so that it doesn't exacerbate the flooding and drainage problems that we have right now, but that we know are going to increase in the future as we get these more extreme rain events with a higher frequency. Second thing I recommend is that lots 1 and 2, they're currently located in the 100-year floodplain, and I'd like to suggest that they be relocated into some other area of the development. I don't think it's good practice for the town to be approving properties in the 100-year floodplain if they can avoid it. And I would suggest that those properties be considered as priority areas for open space in the development. And if something can be put in there, maybe whatever the developer chooses, if it's a playground or something, some mature trees could be put in there that coexist with the nature of that open space. I didn't see wetlands designated on the concept plan. I have to suspect that both ditches are wetlands. I would recommend that lot lines not extend into the tax ditch right away, and that can preserve the maintenance of the tax ditch right away. I also suggest that once the stormwater design is done, that the stormwater ponds drain as far downstream in this ditch system as they can to minimize any potential for flooding and it backing up. This ditch on the east side of the property here, I would recommend a 25-foot buffer on that ditch that is very similar to what the tax ditch right-of-way has. That buffer will keep encroachment out of the ditch and allow maintenance of the ditch in the future in case that is needed, and it may just be needed. And then this area where the ditch bends down here, right, there's a stormwater pond located there. I recommend having a 25-foot buffer there as well, moving that stormwater pond north or relocating it somewhere else on the property. That will allow maintenance of that section of the ditch, provide vegetation to filter the runoff, and it can also provide the opportunity for a visual barrier between the development and the adjacent property. And that concludes my comments. I know I used up a lot of your time. I appreciate you doing this work and your service to the town. And hearing you out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Barnes. I'm 9 Briarcliff, and I thought I heard you when you were reading in the very beginning, and maybe I heard you wrong, but I wanted to make sure. I thought I heard you say something about a, project for Woodland Avenue, like the road. Is there a future project?
The town is debating what they're gonna do with pedestrian improvements along Woodland Avenue, and we're taking every opportunity we have to acquire extra right-of-way along that front.
Okay, all right, will we get notice of something that you would?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and then, that was my question, and then the only other comment I wanted to put on record is, we're number 9, which is, back into Briarcliff, and when you, this new neighborhood proposed, we're like, our house is directly behind one of the cul-de-sacs where someone would drive down. So, I know we talked about a buffer and everything, but I wanted to just mention that, I mean, we would also, at least I would, also like possibly to see a fence so lights wouldn't come into the back of our house since we're at the end of a street. So I just wanted to put that on record. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Glenn Malidi. I live on Mitchell Avenue, and when they built Briar Cliff behind us, they were gonna divert the tax ditch and put stormwater drains in. Well, they ended up building houses on top of where the tax ditch was. Now my yard will flood almost knee deep to where I have to go to Briar Cliff. They have a vinyl wall that goes around it, but I have to jack their fence up, let the water drain out of my house into their ponds. So that's not right, you know. I've worked construction 50 years. I know how things go, and it has a lot to say with it.
Can we have an address that issue?
20 Mitchell Avenue.
We're 39, lot 39 and 40 on Mitchell Avenue. And I'm Jane Malidi.
See, when they put the ditch in that goes from Woodland to our house, there was a farm there.
Nellie Hudson's farm.
Now that ditch is draining towards my house, then went across the farm into a 6-foot ditch. That's gone. There's no ditch. So all the water runs down that ditch into my yard, and it, like I say, I'll get knee deep, and it's been within an inch or two coming into my house. Unless I go out and jack the fence up at Briarcliff and let it run into their pond,
Into their 2-acre pond.
which is
They
supposed to
put
take care of
a 2-acre
stormwater.
pond directly behind us. Okay, so normally any reasonable person would think all that water's gonna drain into that pond. It doesn't. Because the way that ditch is situated between our lots and the other 3 that go out to Woodland, it all comes our way.
And when you divert this tax ditch, is that what you said you were gonna do?
I don't think we're gonna divert it.
Okay.
The only
Because I
thing
wanna
we're
know where that
proposing-
water's running. If it's running where it goes now, across Woodland,
It's,
that ditch is full right
It's
now,
not-
but we just drove by.
that water is outletting the other direction. It's not coming to the Prom 3.
It's not coming towards Woodland?
No.
Okay, that's good.
Well, hold on, it is coming towards Woodland, but it crosses Woodland at a different spot than.
Yes,
than-
down the road.
Right.
Where that little pond is, or on the corner?
Closer to, that gentleman's house, sitting behind you.
'Cause
Closer
I've-
towards Central Avenue.
Because I've seen that little house on the corner with water up to the
Yeah,
doorknob.
It crosses, there's another crossing.
Right at 100, I believe, right?
Yeah, it goes, there's a piping that goes underneath of it, and it goes into,
Right around my
it goes into the same ditch, the Banks Bennett, main ditch, which runs behind that little house, goes under Central Avenue.
Right.
Continues down to 26,
Well,
and goes into.
right now, none of that's adequate. I mean, you've seen the last 2 storms.
Our point is, we've owned that property since 1976.
We've been there
We
50
lived
years.
on it for
50 years.
We saw the Nellie Hudson farm be developed by Gemcraft, and I believe it was Gemcraft. And they've got the fence up, everything is fine there except for that drainage that comes this way. My concern for the future, okay, that 50 years is in the past. We've been the silent minority. We haven't, I think I complained to the town once, right when Gemcraft was being built. My concern now, and many of my neighbors, what's gonna happen when there's 106 townhouses go in there at the end of the street? off of Woodland. And their entrance is right there also. So you're gonna have 106 there, and you're gonna have the 16 over here,
And
and
that's,
they're all dumping out with the Woodland.
which is a blind corner.
And it's a horrible situation. You know, Chris and other people can't ride their bikes. You had to put up cones to shut Woodland off the last couple weeks because of the flooding. It's so apparent. Something has to be engineered. And
The tax ditch folks need to maintain their tax ditches.
well, my concern is that before that 106 townhouses are built, that ditch on the side, which is filled to the brim right now, on the other side of the Woodlands, that needs to be addressed. I mean, it has to go someplace. It can't come our way. I've already got it up to my back step.
We have plans to have that developer address that ditch as part of that project.
That's what they told me when I first complained
I'm telling you.
20 years ago.
I don't know who
Oh,
told you.
it's all this development over there.
I'm telling you now, on the record, that we have it in the plans for that project, for that developer, to clean that prom 3A, to open that up. We actually talked about that before this meeting tonight.
Well, I said, I've heard this for
And we
20
talked
years
about it
now.
was something that I talked about when they first came to us,
Mhm.
with that project. You know, that's a problem, that the water can't get out of our inlets into that prong because it's choked up. And if you follow that prong all the way down, depending on the level of rains that we have, with some of these events we get, the system just gets overwhelmed. But I do believe cleaning that prong will alleviate the pressure at that choke point on Woodland Avenue.
And I don't know if you all were aware or not, but we had our house insurance with Nationwide for 50 years. And they just canceled us.
Because we're within
If
5
I
miles of the
may,
beach.
Let's not get into insurance companies. I think everybody here could stand up and complain about them, justly so. That's a whole different world.
Excuse us.
But I do want to say for the record, and I understand your comments about what you were told 20 years ago. Believe me, I understand that. I will say for the record, all right, that you weren't talking to Mr. Simoneau at that time.
No.
Things have changed
Guy
drastically
started with him.
since he has come into this office as far as the improvements in following the rules and regulations are concerned. You don't have those issues now that you had from 20 years ago.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry if we took up too much
And with
time.
respect to your other question about Woodland Avenue and stuff, like Mr. Lober said, we're looking at a future project to enhance Woodland Avenue for safety and
Yeah, because these people are only worried about maybe 32 cars coming out of that 16. How many cars are going to be coming out of those townhouses? 200, 400? How many cars? You know? So-
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments.
My name is Beverly Brady. I'm at 14 Mitchell, and about 2/3 of my backyard backs up to the storm ditch. My main concern is the water management. When the Hope Center was built at Mariners, there was new piping and water redirection into the ditch out back. And I recently, last year, had a new home built to my left. And the town insisted that that also be, the backyard be graded with some ditch water runoff into the big ditch in the back. So recently, we've had several storms, and I've gone back and looked, and it's doing exactly what the town wanted it to do. Mariners and the house to my left, all the rainwater is dumping into the ditch. The ditch is a mess. And until I saw this, I was not aware I was not in a tax ditch. It stops right at my property. So I'm not sure who's responsible for cleaning out the area behind me. And according to this, there's going to be a storm water management pond right out my back door. So I want to go on record to say 16 townhomes in a developed piece of property is going to create more water. So I would like attention to be taken to which way that water runs. Maybe it's supposed to go to White's Creek. I want to make sure it goes there and not into my ditch any more than what's there now. I'm saying my ditch. It's not my ditch, but it's right there. If it's not a tax ditch, whose ditch is it?
Well, I believe it is a tax ditch.
It's not a tax ditch, and it's on the property to be developed.
A portion of it is a
Portion
tax
of it.
ditch, but then there's
Yeah.
a significant length beyond that that's technically not.
Right.
So then it belongs to,
It belongs to the owner, the property owners,
None of
yes.
the ditch behind here is a tax ditch, that's all.
Right, right.
Just, and again, for the record, the tax ditch, you have to deal with the bureaucracy that oversees that, and that can be a real pain in the butt, that I understand.
well, I was under the
But-
impression
but-
that's what was going on until I saw this and I realized my property is not involved in the tax ditch.
But this ditch, if it's not part of the tax ditch itself, is part of the overall discussion on the development. And
Will be
we, Clinton, as a group, are here to ensure that it doesn't create problems, only help solve problems.
The only other thing I'd like to say is aesthetically, I'm sure these people here don't want to be looking in my backyard, nor do I want to be looking in theirs. So if there could be something complimentary put in, whether it be native plantings, trees, fencing, berm. I'd just like to get that out there. And that's about it.
All right,
Thank you.
All right, any other comments? All right, at this point, I'll close the comments from the audience. And at this point, I guess, is there any discussion,
I have a question.
questions?
So, you know, obviously, we've heard a lot of comments about drainage and flooding, flood potential and a lot of that. And there were a lot of things that were addressed by Jim Lober's comments as well about similar things that need to be done. So I guess my question is, and maybe for Ken or Jim or whatever, is that where we are now in this plan, it seems to me that there's gonna be a lot of information that's gonna come out of the investigations in wetlands, things that have to be done according to Jim Lober's comments. And with the comments that we've heard today, does that somehow all tie together where, I mean, a lot of the solutions for the water, we don't know until some of this work has been completed, I guess.
That's correct. So when Mr. Plitko comes back with this plan, I'm fairly confident that it won't be anywhere near 16 homes. And I'm fairly confident that stormwater management here was not given a really hard look because this is strictly just a concept plan. So when they come back, the number of houses in here is going to be significantly less. The stormwater management is going to look significantly different once they sharpen their pencil and they go through all the requirements in the town code.
No, that helps a lot. I mean, I think that the biggest issues seem to be all around drainage at this point, really.
Right. Similar to the prong 3 in, that is associated with Shore Vista, the ditches that are associated with the perimeter of this property, we will require them to clean.
Okay, well, that's good news.
Yep, clarifies good.
All right. Well, as Walter mentioned, this is a concept plan, so there'll no vote taken tonight by the board.
I want to say one thing.
Yes, sir.
The required cleaning will mean tree removal in those ditches. So there'll be some of you that'll be super happy, and then there'll be some you'll be like, oh no, now all my bumpers on. So you can't have one without the other. Sorry about
Just
that.
one general comment on buffers. Ma'am, so everybody hears, the general comment on buffers, be careful what you wish for. If you're wishing so that your neighbor can't see into your yard or you can't see into theirs, don't ask for trees. Because everybody knows the trees go up and you can still see there. If you're looking to stop headlights flashing in your windows, don't ask for trees. You want reasonably high bushes. So just think about that sort of thing. Everybody seems to think, well, if I put a couple trees in there or 100 trees in there, it's going to solve the problem. 9 out of 10 times it doesn't. So just a food for thought. Thank you.
All right. You have any questions?
I mean, this is just a concept plan. I mean, I'm a newbie here. I've only lived here like 22 years, so I haven't been here forever. But, I mean, we had issues when our development was first done with drainage and everything else, and I've seen a lot of drainage problems down here, because I was on the council for 7 years. But now, to be honest, to credit our current planning and zoning director, a lot of the issues with drainage have been taken care of. The two major problems down here in this county are roads and drainage. Basically, that's it. But Ken has done, to me, a remarkable job, especially with the Woodland Avenue project. I mean, you needed a canoe at one time to get through Woodland Avenue when it rained. It was that horrible. But there's been more attention put, I think, overall to drainage issues, because that is the main issue down here. The developer doesn't want to develop property that's going to flood, okay? He doesn't want problems with the property around him flooding. So like I say, it will be addressed, and it may have to be tweaked before the final thing is done. But like I say, I have a lot of faith in the planning and zoning director here, and also with the other county, agencies that are involved in this. So like I say, there's a long list of everybody's got to sign off for this project once it gets to it. In other words, this is just this is the initial stage. Much more comes after this. So, but like I say, don't get all worked up now. People will have another chance, and if there are issues, let the town know. Let the project manager know. I mean, these people say, oh, we're complaining because you've got dirt in the road and everything else. Let the people know that are in charge of making a decision to correct the problem, so letting it eat at you, get it off your chest right away. But I've got a lot of confidence, in our planning and zoning department, also the other agencies in the county. So, just a comment.
Right. And with that, I'd like to add that we do appreciate your comments. It's just not window dressing. The town looks at these comments, addresses them, and it's a lot different than it was, as you said, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, thanks for all your input tonight. It does help with the process. And as we said, this is a concept tonight. We're not taking a vote on it. I think the owner-developer has got a lot on their plate now to look at and address. All right? Okay. So with that, we'll move on to the next application. All right, the next item on the agenda tonight is application P 347 and P 348 at 129 Central Avenue, Lot 2. Also 129 Woodland Avenue, Lot 3. The application associated with a land development plan for the creation of a condominium. It will be called the Latitude on Central, submitted by the property owner Stephen Doyle of XL Builders LLC. Application P 347 proposes the creation of 2 condominium units on 129 Central Avenue, Lot 2. And application 348 proposes the creation of 2 condominium units on lot 129. 129 Central Avenue, Lot 3. Both parcels are zoned currently as R3 townhouse and multifamily district, and it's located at 129 Central Avenue, lots 2 and 3. So with that, Jim, any comments?
Sure. We have reviewed both the subdivision plan that was provided as well as the site grading plan that has been provided. The site grading plan isn't actually required at this point in the process just yet, but because it was provided, we have commented on it. So in fact, my comments tonight cover both plans.
Okay.
But we are not voting on the site plan tonight or anything of that nature, we're just voting on the subdivision.
We're what?
Only
We're
on the
just voting on the
subdivision, not the
subdivision.
plan.
Right.
Okay.
So based on our review, we have the following comments. The proposed use of semi-detached dwellings in R3 zoning requires a 25-foot front yard setback and a 30-foot rear yard setback. Please correct the site data column and the building restriction lines shown in plan view. Provide an assessment of the proposed lot coverage. Assuming that the existing gravel areas are to be removed, label them accordingly. If they are to remain, ensure that they are accounted for in the lot coverage analysis. Provide finished floor elevations for the dwellings. Provide the proposed height of the dwellings. Provide grading in accordance with section 132 of the town code to provide sufficient protective slope away from the dwellings. Provide dimensions on the plan to ensure that all elements of the driveway are at least 5 feet from the property line. There appears to be a utility pole in the rear yard of lot 2. Verify if the pole is to remain or be removed and label it accordingly. If it is to remain, verify if there are any easements associated with the utilities it serves. Show water service connections to the dwellings. Show sanitary lateral connections to the dwellings. And provide design information including pipe size, material, and slope. Provide invert elevations at all cleanouts. If fences are proposed, include them on the plan. Include the following note on the plan. The purpose of this plan is to subdivide the subject parcel into 2 condominium units along with any associated common areas or facilities. The declaration for this condominium will contain all terms, conditions, and provisions as required by the Delaware Unit Property Act, the Delaware Uniform Common Interest Ownership Act, and all applicable law. The following comments are offered by the town solicitor in response to her review of the condominium documents and have been incorporated here for the sake of efficiency. Please note that the town solicitor has reviewed the condominium documents for planning purposes only, and neither the town nor its solicitor are responsible for the contents or legal sufficiency of the condominium documents. Regarding the declaration currently addresses both parcels as one condominium. Unless the property line between the 2 parcels is extinguished and the project proceeds with 4 units on one parcel, separate condominium declarations and bylaws are required for the 2 parcels. Ensure that the units are specifically and adequately defined. Regarding the declaration plan, again, unless the property line between the 2 parcels is extinguished and the project proceeds with 4 units on one parcel, separate plans will be required for the 2 parcels. The declaration plan is an as-built plan and cannot be approved until after the structures have been built. The plan will be required to meet the requirements of 25 Delaware C, section 2220, and include all appropriate engineering and owner's certifications. Provide a note on the plan stating that the property is being submitted to the Unit Property Act, and identify the units by number on the plan. Regarding the Code of Regulations, unless the property, again, between the 2 parcel lines is extinguished, the project proceeds with 4 units on one parcel. Separate codes of regulations will be required for each parcel. And we're recommending that you review the insurance provisions to ensure that they require the necessary coverage for common elements. I'd like to add that no certificates of occupancy will be issued until declaration plans have been received, approved, and recorded, and no building permits will be issued until the grading plan that we referred to earlier has been approved.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Jim?
You mentioned the 2 parcels versus 1 parcel. Is the developer here tonight?
I believe so, yes.
I think I'd like to hear from him, and then maybe my questions will go away.
Sure.
Good evening, my name is Steve Doyle, I'm with Excel Builders. My family, we're here to present what we have to build on lot 129 Central.
I'm sorry.
I'm Steve Doyle with Excel Builders. My family, we're here to present what we'd like to propose to do on lot 129 Central, lots 2 and 3.
The question that I had on the split, Do you even, are you even thinking about maybe reverting back to keeping it as one parcel? Or are you simply gonna follow along the guidelines, what we're saying, that you're gonna split it and then you'll do whatever needs to be done after you split?
Yes, we contemplated putting it in one parcel, but based on, from the information we got from Mr. Smith from Del Dot, that the interests are already approved for what they are, so we didn't really want to try to go change any of that.
Okay, so it's that you're still going ahead with the split?
Yes.
Okay, that's really all I had, just to kind of clarify that.
I can tell you that the comments that you read were all addressed. We only received those like yesterday or the day before yesterday. So Simple Survey is taking care of all the engineering parts of the project, and they've already addressed everything and sent back over. The attorney that's doing the declaration page and the also HOA docs has already addressed all those comments, and we've addressed the information from Del Dot. So everything you've asked for, we've already responded to. Okay. All right. Tom, you got any? All right. Okay. Anything else you would like to add at this point? I'm new at this part of it in Ocean View. I've done other projects in Ocean View, so I'm pretty familiar that there are issues with drainage and so forth, but we're certainly going to take care of our part as far as everything we're going to do. But just not real familiar. We do not a lot of building. I'm not a big builder, just a small builder, but we build in Sussex County, so we'd like to try to move on with the project as soon as possible. I don't know, we've kind of addressed everything that you've asked us to do and as fast as we could. So I just wanted to see, what our time frame for us to actually be able to do to get the project started.
You could address approval tonight.
Well, tonight, they're only addressing the subdivision issue, and in terms of applying for your building permits and getting your
The grading plan.
Yeah, the grading plan, that, what I typically see is that's addressed by the planning department and Mr. Lober, very promptly.
If they've already sent back revisions, we'll be able to get into that quickly. But we have to have a positive vote tonight, obviously, and then the subdivision plan will need to be recorded.
Okay.
Well, the subdivision plan will be recorded, right, but then after you build, then the declaration plan will have to be recorded.
Okay,
obviously.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, do we have any comments from those in attendance?
Hello, my name is Joseph Yuracek, and I'm the owner of Lot 1, which is to the left. If you're in Central Avenue looking at these properties. I just had a few questions. I'm not sure how it works, but I'll ask it anyway. Are they required to put any kind of barrier between my lot and the other two when they're doing construction? Like you see them on, I don't know if they're fiberglass webbing or something.
I believe you're referring to erosion and sediment controls, essentially, to provide protect against construction.
Absolutely.
Yes, that will be part of what they're requiring.
Okay. And I think you mentioned this, but how close are the building envelope to my lot? In other words, how many feet?
I believe the side yard setback is 10 feet.
10 feet?
Yes.
Okay.
And that meets town code.
And that meets town code, yes.
Okay. The other question I had is, if these two properties have like an HOA, I assume that I'm not going to be required to belong to their HOA, right? No, okay. And the other question I had is, and this goes back to the origin of this was one property at one time, and I think an apartment building, and my lot should have its own separate water and sewer, and I think one of these does not have that, but I don't know which one. But anyway, I just want to make sure that whatever they do would not affect my water and sewer.
No, whenever it's time for you to build on your lot, to develop your lot, you'll be required to install your own water and sewer taps, and it'll be completely independent.
So it should be independent of those. Okay. And I guess at this time, you wouldn't know what the price point of the,
We don't.
okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other comments? Going, gone. All right, thank you. All right, any discussion, comments, concerns? All right. Well, at this point, if, does anyone want to make a motion to approve the,
So we're gonna close the public hearing on this and?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got officially closed the public.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, all right, so we've officially closed public comment.
Right.
Excuse me. All right, so with that,
I'll make a motion.
you want to make a motion?
Yeah. I move that the commission approves the subdivision application to allow for a condominium building with 2 units on each lot relating to applications P347 and P348 associated with a land development plan for the creation of 2 condominiums submitted by property owner Stephen Doyle / XL Builders, LLC. Application P347 proposes the creation of 2 condominium units on 129 Central Avenue, Lot 2, PIDN 024.00/134-12.00-446.01. Take a deep breath. Application P348 proposes the creation of 2 condominium units on 129 Central Avenue, Lot 3, PIDN 024.00/134-12.00-446.02.
Very good.
I threw it only 2 deep breaths.
All right, so we have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any, comments before we take a vote? Alrighty, so, all in favor of the proposal that Walter has put forth?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any nay? Okay, so the motion passes 5-0. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye, all those in favor? We are adjourned, thank you, folks.